Hi, everyone. Today, I just wanted to talk about a concept where together, all of us can make the world a better place. The concept is the Global Poverty Elimination Lab. And in a few minutes, I will take you through this concept and what you can do. The key is that I would like all of you to consider joining the first GPEL in the world, which has been set up in India by Sapio. The URL is on this slide, and consider joining it today because the best way to shape GPEL, see whether it is the next best thing since sliced bread or a damn squib, is to actually take action. So with that said, let me move on. Okay, so what is GPEL? Now, GPEL is a platform that enables you, and we'll talk about more about you later, to make a better world which is free from material, mind, and body poverty. It is my fond hope that in the next few years, there will be at least 100 GPEL in many parts of the world. GPEL is for profit. It is not donor funded. It is an action tank and not a research or think tank. GPEL is Village Global VC 2.0, and the URL of Village Global VC is given for those who would like to see what Village Global VC is. I have tried to take the Village Global VC concept and expand it, which is why I'm calling it Village Global VC 2.0. Okay, now who is you? So you is basically a citizen who could be an ideator or an upvoter. It could be, you could be a policymaker. You could also be a unicorn plus builder. But above all, you are a citizen of some country in most cases. So, initially, when you join this platform, you will join in the capacity of being a citizen, and then you could take on many roles. And since this is global, you may be a citizen of one country, but you could help many other countries of which you are not a citizen progress. Okay. So as a citizen, I think one of the biggest problems that we have is that many citizens in many countries have basically abdicated their role. So their civic engagement is very low. So for instance, most politicians spend a lot of money in terms of getting elected. So that money may be their own money, it may be money from the party, or it may be money from various lobbying groups which want to push their lobbying agenda. Now, if these people are funded from these sources, it is only natural to expect that there is a structural problem where they will not necessarily work for the voters who elected them, but they will work for the people who funded them. Now, if this was reversed and the voters actually funded the people that they elected, because there are so many of voters, the amounts each voter would have to fund would be quite little. So this is a concept of grassroots funding. But grassroots funding is only one thing. You could engage in many, many different ways by giving your ideas and things like that. And also, using digital, you could protest in a non-violent manner so that you don't burn public property and things like that. So I'll leave this thought with you. And, if you join the Sapio GPEL, you may be able to shape the citizen engagement part and also start engaging as a citizen. Okay, now if you are an ideator, you are bursting with ideas, you have great ideas, you may be a PhD, you may be a Nobel Prize winner, you may be an individual, whatever it is, but you have ideas and you want those ideas to become real, right? On the other hand, you may not be an ideator, but you may be someone who loves reading, is curious, and wants to upload good ideas. So you don't really have to be an inventor. You don't have to have a PhD. Now, the platform, I think what Sapio GPL will do over time is that it will edit the submissions, while the raw submission will always be available, but it'll edit that to make it more palatable in an instant gratification world, and also translate it into many languages so that you have a huge audience. So if you are someone who wants to share your ideas, wants to see possibly that they're implemented, then this platform could be great for you as an ideator. And then if you want to upload certain ideas which may have come from anywhere, again, this is a great platform to do it. So that is your role as an ideator or an uploader, and why you should join the platform. The other thing is that you could be a policy maker. Now, you could be a member who's elected to a parliament or some kind of a body. You could be a bureaucrat, you could be a regulator, you could be a member of the judiciary. Now, if there is a district which is used as a lab, for instance, in India, there are 750 districts. Now, if we want to make the world better, it could start by making one district better. In some other countries, there may be other districts. So, like you do experiments in a lab, you could take one small geographical area and experiment. The other is the negative use of public money. So, like if there are unicorn plus builders, which we'll come to a little later, now for them, they will be able to raise money because they need a lab to experiment in. So if they could get critical mass, and it's so important to get critical mass if you are a unicorn plus builder, that people pay a lot for critical mass. There's this cost of customer acquisition, and if you want to acquire, say, 1 million customers, then you have to put in a fair amount of capital to try and acquire them in the traditional way. But if a district acts as a lab and says, hey, you can, if your solution is great, it has impact, it's going to solve a problem that I've been trying to solve, then, maybe I'll take a little bit of your equity or something, but, I will make or do all my efforts to try and get a very large number of adopters for your solution. So that could be very, very valuable for both the policymakers and the unicorn plus builders. So the unicorn plus builders. Now, I have a hypothesis that in the next 20 years, the trillion-dollar market cap companies, at least some of them, will be impact companies, companies which serve a very large number of users, say maybe 5 billion users in the world, and make just $20 from each of these 5 billion users on the average. So that would mean $100 billion in revenue, which could translate into a $1 trillion market cap company. So aside from that, I think solving poverty of the mind, body, and material poverty in the world is one of the coolest problems on Earth. So it is more difficult than interplanetary species or stuff that people like Elon Musk are working on, which is of course great that they're working on that. But this problem is more difficult because, atoms and things like that, they follow the laws of physics. But here, you're dealing with humans who do not necessarily follow laws. So how do you solve this problem? How do you make people enthused so that they're all free of poverty in all aspects? Is a very, very challenging problem, and definitely a very cool problem. Definition of a cool problem is also a problem which does a lot of good. You feel good when you solve it, but also it's a problem that can be solved. Because if there's a problem which is like very, very difficult and it can never be solved, then it's, in my mind, not a very cool problem. But this does not fit into that class. I think it's a very difficult problem, but it can be solved, and the people who solve it could be very wealthy. So this is not for everyone, okay? Because there are very few people who can build unicorn plus companies. Not everybody can be a Elon Musk or a Jeff Bezos or a Sergey Brin or a Larry Page or Mark Zuckerberg or whatever. So there are only few of these, and even for those, you have to see that do you need GPEL and what the structure is in the GPEL and so on and so forth. But chances are, exploring it, there is nothing to lose. So if you do think that you're a unicorn plus builder, you can always join the platform as an individual, watch it, see what the model is, and then if you feel that this is right for you, then you can always apply and see if you get selected as a unicorn plus builder. Finally, there is this thing which is like a bias for action. So why should you join the first GPL in the world today? And I would say very simply, why not? Okay, because heads, you'll win big if this actually helps to make a better world. And tails, suppose it fails, what are you going to lose? Right? Because in terms of your privacy, this and the other, the platform will sort of ensure it. So I don't see what you're going to lose by trying to make the first GPL in the world something which people get excited about. So you should, in my opinion, act as soon as you can and see if you should set up or use also a GPL. The first step is to join a GPL as an individual. Then if your institution or something wants to set up a GPL, they can do it. If you want to use a GPL to promote your research or to be a unicorn plus builder, you can do that. If you want to use GPL to make the area, the neighborhood that you live in better, then maybe through collective action, you can do that. But the first step is join. Now, I'll end with the slide which says who should set up a GPL, because I just want universities, corporates, consulting firms to think that should they set up a GPL, maybe they modify the concept of the first GPL, maybe they improve upon it or whatever. But universities are perpetually trying to figure out how to add money to their endowments. Now, this may be a very good way of doing that by getting the alumni involved, getting other people involved, and so on and so forth. So universities around the world should consider whether they should set up GPELs. So many years ago, things like venture capital firms and all were new. So today, GPELs seem new, but it is my hope that they will not be new and there will be many GPELs. Similarly, corporates, especially large corporates, they always have the fear of being disrupted. So should they think of setting up GPLs? And finally, consulting firms, right? Like, so in India, there is a very large state, Uttar Pradesh, which has asked for a roadmap to make it a $1 trillion economy. Now, I think Sapio GPL may apply in the tender, and maybe it'll get selected. But how do you differentiate yourself from other consulting firms? How do you, make it possible that you not only end up making nice PowerPoints and things like that, but actually making a difference? So a lot of people could join GPL, think, improve the concept, and then see if they should set up their own GPL. Thank you very much for listening to me.